Are you thinking about moving to Austin, Texas? And do you want the best of both worlds? You want the benefit of being in Austin, and you want to live in a beautiful neighborhood with tree-lined streets, but just be minutes from downtown without that density of being too close in. Well, today we're going to look at Shoal Creek. This is one of Austin's most desirable neighborhoods. In fact, niche.com places Shoal Creek as number 2, one of the best neighborhoods in the city. We're going to cover everything. We're going to cover location, the real estate, schools, pros and cons. We're going to cover it all in this video. And by the end, you'll know whether you want to check out Shoal Creek in more detail. Let's go check it out. Hold on one second. Before we go any further, don't forget to press that subscribe button and tap that notification bell so that you'll be the first to know of new developments happening here in the greater Austin area. Every single day, people watching these videos on YouTube get in touch with me. They shoot me a text, they give me a call on the phone, and they book time on my calendar. So if you're thinking about relocating here to the greater Austin area, or you actually already live here and you're looking about making a move, give me a call, shoot me a text, book time on my calendar, and I look forward to helping you make your move a great success. Let's go ahead and check out Shoal Creek. I'm looking forward to it, and let's go check it out. The Shoal Creek neighborhood is one of those places that if you were to drive through it or walk as we are now through the neighborhood, you'd immediately notice that there's just beautiful tree-lined streets. It's a mature neighborhood. It has a very quiet, chill vibe, and most of the houses here are mid 20th century Rambler style houses. Now, interestingly, there's a lot of variety here in this neighborhood, and I'm actually going right here to a street off of Daleview Drive, and this has a mix of all of the kinds of houses you're going to see in this neighborhood. So here right behind me, it looks like it was a completely rehabbed house. It's actually the original house here, but it looks like they've had some garage conversion. It looks like they've just completely redone it. Now, what's interesting is right behind me on the other side of the street is an original house. So this is a mid 20th century house, but this has not been kind of updated like this house here. And if we go further down, we can see some interesting kind of two-story houses that were probably added on later over the years. So there is some mix in this neighborhood, and because it doesn't have a lot of the restrictions of newer communities, investors come into a neighborhood like this and they really just kind of continually update it and kind of modernize the houses that are already here. All right, let's now hop in my truck. We're going to drive around the Shoal Creek neighborhood, and I hope you just get a sense of the perspective of the neighborhood just as if you were driving with me. So let's go take a look. All right, so we're driving through North Shoal Creek right now, and it's one of those Austin neighborhoods that still feels comfortable and familiar. Big mature oaks everywhere, wide streets, and that steady, peaceful energy that makes you want to slow down a little. What really stands out here, at least for me, is how established everything feels. Most of these homes were built back in the 1960s and 70s, when Austin was expanding north. You'll notice the mid-century design, and we've talked about that a little bit already, and the one-story ranch-style homes, the long driveways, the big front yards, and some have been updated with modern touches, but the neighborhood has kept its original character, and I really think that is one of the major draws to this area. Before this area was developed, it was mostly farmland and open space outside the old city limits. Back then, this was considered the edge of town. When the Steck Printing Company built their facility nearby in the late 1950s, it helped kick off a wave of new homes and small businesses here in the area. Over time, North Shoal Creek became one of those classic post-war neighborhoods, built for families with parks, sidewalks, and community schools right in the middle of it all. All right, let's talk about location and accessibility. If you zoom out, you can see it's right in north central Austin, bordered by Mopac on the west, Burnett Road on the east, Anderson Lane to the south, and Highway 183 up at the north. It's a really convenient pocket of the city. You've got easy access to the major roads, Mopac for getting downtown or heading south, 183 if you're going to Cedar Park or Round Rock, and Burnett Road right through the middle with tons of local restaurants, bars, and coffee shops.
To the north, just a few minutes up the road, you've got the Domain and Q2 Stadium. That's the entertainment and tech hub of North Austin. Head the other direction, and you can be downtown in around 15 minutes without ever having to leave the highway. The great thing about North Shoal Creek is that it gives you a central location without the downtown chaos. You're close to everything: shopping, dining, groceries, parks. But once you turn into the neighborhood, it immediately quiets down. So if you're looking for a spot that's truly in the middle of it all, but still feels like a neighborhood, North Shoal Creek fits that perfectly.
Let's now go into my computer. We're going to take a look around the MLS just to see what's for sale currently. Now, obviously, when you see this, the situation might be different, the market might be different, but it'll give you a sense of an idea of what the home values are and what some of these houses might look like. Let's go take a look.
Okay, so now we're in my computer and we're looking actually at the MLS, the multiple listing service. And here I have the map view, and I've basically made the boundaries for North Shoal Creek, and currently there are 8 houses for sale in the neighborhood. Now, keep in mind, we are filming this in October of 2025. Things could be different by the time you see this, but for the purposes of what I want to show you here, the kind of mix of houses we're going to see is probably going to be there when you look at this neighborhood. All right, let's now look at a more detailed view. We're going to go to this list view here. I'm going to just zoom in a little bit, and I'm just going to point out a few things I want to show you. So the first thing I want to do is I just want to show you this price range here. Notice that we're going from $390 all the way to just above $1.2 million. So there is quite a range, but you can see that kind of that median price point, it's in that kind of 6-ish, 7-ish, 700,000-ish price point. And that's, for a house that is nice, that has been, somewhat updated, it's going to be in, this upper $600,000, $700,000 price point. But we're going to look here at some of these lower priced houses because it really does show you some of the potential. So we're going to now go into this first house that is being sold for $390. Okay, so here's that first house, and this is being offered for $390,000 by this seller and agent here. And here you can see this is built in 1962, and it's 872 square feet. And as you look here, I mean, this is just basically that really small mid-century kind of the early original houses that were built in this area. You can see they did some updates to the floor, but a lot of it is quite dated still. This is, maybe we could call it, really entry level for North Shoal Creek. It's only 3 bedrooms and 1 bath, so there's a little bit of lack of functionality here, but these houses are sprinkled throughout North Shoal Creek. I want to go to the next one because the next one points out some of the opportunities that exist in North Shoal Creek. So if you look at this house, they're selling this house currently for $450. It's 1,627 square feet, built in 1961, 3-bedroom, 2-bath house. And if you look inside, you can see here, this needs quite a bit of work. This needs to be basically gutted and completely rehabbed and restored and modernized. And this is an opportunity. This may be an eyesore for a lot of people, but if you're an investor, huge opportunity here just because it's a great area. But also, if you're an end buyer, someone who plans to live in a house like this is a canvas. This is, if you have the money, you can easily restore this house and modernize it and make it look absolutely amazing. And many people have done that and continue to do that. I want to move to the next house because when we go one up from this, here we see a classic, modernized mid-century house. This one is right basically at the $600,000 price point, 3-bedroom, 2-bath house, 1,200 square feet, and built in 1963. And you can just see here, they've just done an amazing job on this house. They've really modernized it. This is just a lovely home, ready to move in, absolutely fabulous. And these kinds of houses come up for sale all the time in North Shoal Creek. This is just bread and butter of this neighborhood. Now, if we keep going, we can see here this one. This is a little bit larger, just above 1,600 square feet. Again, a 3.2 at around $625,000. really beautiful house. You can see they've just really modernized the exterior. There's tons of houses like this all throughout North Shoal Creek. But the real one that I want to show you is actually this one right here, because this house actually has something that shows you in terms of like what's possible with the lot sizes that are in this neighborhood. So North Shoal Creek actually has lots that are a little bit bigger than other neighborhoods. And here you can see as we go in, while it doesn't have a garage or a carport, which would be helpful considering that we have some hail here every once in a while in Austin, right here is what I wanted to show you. You can see here they have this outdoor, looks like it's an office. It doesn't look like it's a dwelling unit, but things like this are possible for many houses in North Shoal Creek. And so it just shows you this is just some value add you can do to a property in this neighborhood. And there are things like this peppered throughout North Shoal Creek. Now, I want to now actually go to the 8th house here. And this is that, basically $1.2 million house that was built in 2022, 2,583 square feet, 4-bedroom, 3-bath. And just look at this. So obviously you can see right here, can you see here? Here's an older house. This is what would have sat on this lot, but you can see what they did. It's such a big lot. It's such a wide lot. This is a very typical lot for this neighborhood. They basically tore down the house here probably, and they built this brand new, very modern looking house. There's not a lot of these in North Shoal Creek, but they are there. And so this is a possibility, and that's an amazing house in an amazing location. So that there shows you a little bit of what's possible here in North Shoal Creek. Let's go back into the neighborhood.
Right along the east side, you've got Burnett Road, one of Austin's main foodie corridors. It's lined with local restaurants, coffee shops, and bars, everything from casual taco shops to craft breweries. Shopping is easy too. You're just minutes from H-E-B, Central Market, and local boutiques. And for families, Shoal Creek is served by the Austin ISD schools, with Pillow Elementary, Burnett Middle School, and Anderson High School, all really well-regarded schools. So who is North Shoal Creek for? That's a really good question. Well, it's for everyone, of course. Anyone can live here. That's the beauty of America. But as I walk around and I think about it, I think the appeal of North Shoal Creek is that this is for people who have the budget for a little bit more of a higher priced home, since most of the homes here are above the median sales price for Austin. And they value character and more of an established neighborhood over being in one of those newer master plan communities. It's really someone who wants to be in an area where they have the convenience of being close to downtown, as we mentioned before, only 10 minutes away, or near the Domain, which is also only 10 minutes away, or near the tech corridor where a lot of tech workers are working. They want that convenience of being able to easily get around the major things that people are trying to get to in Austin, while having this very quiet atmosphere. And if you're a family, you have the great schools. And if you don't have a family, that's okay. You'll be paying for those schools in your taxes, but you just have a really nice neighborhood where you can walk around and really enjoy yourself as you're living in Austin, Texas. All right, now let's talk about the pros and cons of living in the North Shoal Creek neighborhood. There's a lot to like, and there are some things to really consider. Let's start with the location. Now, North Shoal Creek is really nicely located, very close to downtown, as we've already mentioned, but it's far enough out that you don't have that same density. And that's something to really like. Another thing to like here are the homes. You've got bigger lots, mature trees, and you've got that mid-20th century charm. Another thing to like is the lifestyle. You know, as I've been walking around this neighborhood, and I've really walked almost every street in this community, is I just see a lot of kids playing in the afternoon. I see people with their garage doors open, and they're watching TV, or they're having a beer with friends or something like that. And it's just very, very quiet. And that's something that I really like about this neighborhood. It's just a very peaceful neighborhood, especially considering that once you kind of leave the neighborhood, it starts getting quite loud. So it is a little bit of an oasis here in North Central Austin. Another pro is the community. One of the things I've realized in my research here is that this is a very engaged community. These residents are very passionate about this neighborhood. They really take a lot of pride in their houses and in their community. They actually really care. And that's something I really like. I know that in my own neighborhood where I live, I like the fact that, you know, my neighbors are engaged and they care. They care about what's going on around them. So I really like that. Let's now talk about some of the cons, some of the things you should really think about. And you know, there's actually, I think, more to like than to dislike, but it's important to have a balanced picture of the entire situation. The first con that I want to mention is the house prices. This is a more expensive area. And the reason why it's more expensive is its location. You're just much closer to Austin. The closer you get into Austin, the more expensive typically it's going to be, especially if you're more on the west side of town. So that's something to consider. You know, a lot of the houses in here, to get into a decent house, you know, you're definitely looking at least mid 600s all the way at 700,000, even up to $1 million. So depending on, you know, size and exactly where it's located. So that's something that you really got to consider. You got to have the budget to live in here. Another thing to consider about this neighborhood that's actually unique to this neighborhood is that because you've got a creek running through it, there is a watershed. And so there is flood zone risk in this neighborhood. Some houses are in a flood zone. This is something that you do need to consider when you're buying a house. This is not just for this area. Anywhere you live, anywhere in Texas, you should always be checking the FEMA flood map to make sure that you know, hey, is this lot or this house that I'm interested in, is it in a floodplain? Maybe you're okay with it, maybe you're not, but you definitely want to do your due diligence as you're looking at these houses. And in this neighborhood, you do really got to check that. Now, probably the highest on my list is the traffic. This is something that you really need to think about if you're living closer in town. As soon as you leave this very peaceful neighborhood, you get on Burnett Road or one of these other major highways here in this area, you're going to be hit by traffic almost immediately. And that's something that can feel very frustrating. I know that as I was filming this and I was driving around the area here, as soon as I got into the main streets, man, it was just filled with traffic. Even I went to go get a coffee and there was this huge line and this huge traffic line is what I wanted to say. And it's just so many cars all over. So that's something you got to consider. And that's something true of Austin in general. If you're living in Austin proper, closer into town, you're going to be dealing with traffic. That's just part of the lifestyle. Overall, I think that the pros outweigh the cons quite a bit. I think that for most people, it's going to be about location and budget. You know, how much money do you got and where do you want to live? You know, if you want to live closer into town and not have that density like we were talking about before, this is a really good neighborhood. I definitely can see why Niche considered this to be the second best neighborhood in Austin, Texas. So that's a wrap, and that's an overview of the North Shoal Creek neighborhood. It's one of those areas that really captures what makes Austin special. It's a blend of urban convenience, natural beauty, and strong community. If you're moving to Austin, Texas, and you're interested in this neighborhood or any of the surrounding communities, don't forget to get in touch. Shoot me a text, give me a call, book some time on my calendar. All of my information is in the description of this video. And don't forget to press that subscribe button and tap that notification bell so that you'll be the first to know of new developments happening here in the greater Austin area. You'll catch me on these neighborhood tours and other things that I'll be checking out for people who are thinking about making a move to Austin. See you on the next one.